Rude was a loser adventurer who only knew how to get punched. However, after discovering he was the strongest tank but only can shield, he forms a party with overpowered baddies who raids dungeons with him while he raids theirs every night. One day, Rod was fantasizing about his sister Manicia, until his party member named Nin reminded the creepy Lolicon that they were at the guild. She asked him to show a bit of romantic interest in her, but he said no one was cuter than Manicia.
Oh my god, bro.
And told her that he aimed to find the secret treasure or the labyrinth which was capable of granting any wish, so he could cure his sister disease. She motivated him by reminding him that they were only able to fight because he protects them, and she told him to hold his head high because his absorb shield has the highest shield value ever. Just then, a popular hero Kyglass walked into the guild hall, along with a set of twin adventurers named Lilia and Lily, and he introduced Rudd and Nin to 2 new members of their party. Nin reminded him that the labyrinth rules only allowed 6 members, so he told Rudd that he was kicking him out of the party for being a useless tank. Nin tried to argue on Rudd's behalf, but Kyglass said he preferred the new members because they were evasion-type tanks who could do more than just pose as a low-quality Captain America. Rudd agreed and walked away, but Kyglass added salt to the wound by taking his sword to make up for their shortage of profit the previous day. A while later, Rada was seated by a fountain, thinking about how broke he was, and he heard a party talking about their escort mission to a city named Karas, so he offered to follow them. When they realized he was formerly part of the hero party, they accepted him immediately and he accompanied them on their journey. During the trip, Rada stopped their carriage when they heard a noise because he thought bandits were about to attack, but it turned out to be a strange girl who had a magic crystal on her chest. Just then, a monster called a forest snake appeared and the party started panicking because they knew it had deadly venom, but Rudd used a rage-baiting skill to grab its attention. The snake blasted him with its venom, but Rudd blocked until it threw him into a nearby tree. When he got back up, he told the party members to attack the snake while he blocked it with his shield, and when they followed this plan, the monster retaliated with a cannonball attack. However, Rudd blocked the attack, allowing the adventurers to defeat the forest snake with a spam of magical attacks, and Rudd told them to carve up the snake while he checks on the girl. The girl told him she didn't have anywhere to go, so he offered to take her to Avancia with him and she agreed. The next day, Rod dropped off the client, and the adventurers offered him a chance to join their guild, but he declined because his personal mission was to find a treasure to cure his sister. As Rod walked along with the girl, he introduced himself to her, and she said she didn't have a name, so he named her Luna. When they were camping that evening, some wolves tried to attack Luna, but she easily took them down using Jin Wu moves, and this made Rudd realize that she was an illegally crested homunculus. And when he asked what skills she had, she said she had a skill named Identify. Rada was shocked because the Identify skill was so rare that she was the only one in the world who possessed it at that time, and he asked her to identify his skills. She called out his tank skills, which he was already aware of, and added that he had a skill called Life Conversion, which enables him convert the absorb shield he's depleted into strength. He realized that it was an offensive skill, and then Luna revealed that he had another skill called Shield of Sacrifice, which allows him to take the damage of others. Rude realized that he'd been taking the damage of his former party without even realizing it, and he thanked Luna for her help. The next day, they arrived at Avancia. Luna noticed that Avancia was a tranquil town, and Rudd said it was a nice place despite the fact that there wasn't much in the area. As they walked ahead, a red-haired girl suddenly hugged Rudd and asked how long he was staying this time. Another female friend of Rudd's, who was dressed up as a Game of Thrones character, showed up and dragged the redhead away from Rudd. He said it was good to see them again and asked what they were doing there, so the redhead said she was there to buy a hammer while the other girl named Phil was on patrol. Phil said she went to check on Manicia and found out that she was doing pretty well. Rudd thanked her and said he didn't have to worry about Manacia when he went on missions because the whole town was looking after her. He then introduced Luna to them, and the redhead introduced herself to Luna as the blacksmith's poster girl named Melina. Philly introduced herself as the sub-leader of the town watch, and she immediately hid behind her helmet. So Rod explained that she was shy. When Rudd and Luna arrived at his home, he told her to stay quiet because Manicia could still be sleeping. But then he caught the scent of the 5-star meals which she'd prepared. Melina suddenly showed up and welcomed Rude before asking who Luna was. The bird brain immediately went into simp mode and he introduced Luna to her, before informing her that she'd be staying with them for the meantime. Manicia introduced herself to Luna and told her to feel at home at their place before inviting them to have dinner. She put on an apron as she prepared to make a second serving for them, but Rada said she shouldn't strain herself since she was still weak. However, Manicia said she'd be fine because she was feeling good that day, and Rudd suggested they cook together. Manicia agreed, and Luna asked Rudd about Manicia's jumpy hair, so he explained that the hair moves according to her emotions. Rudd asked Manicia if it was because of her skill that she knew he was coming home, and Manicia said yes before reminding him that he was meant to be helping her with meal prep. When the meal was ready, Luna held the spoon in an abnormal way as she chowed down, and when Manisa asked her about it, she apologized and said she'd only used a spoon a handful of times. After remembering how she used to fumble using a spoon during her slave days, Luna got teary-eyed and promised them that she'd get it better next time. However, Manicia told her there was no need to apologize and showed her the proper way of using a spoon before promising to teach her everything she didn't know. Luna thanked her with a warm smile on her face, and they spent the next couple of days teaching her how to do basic house stuff. One morning, Luna unlocked her inner Gordon Ramsay as she prepared a feast for breakfast, and the Airhead siblings were amazed, so she explained that she simply made all the things that Manicia taught her over the past 3 days. When Rudd and Manicia tasted it, they found it delicious, and Rudd was impressed by the fact that Luna was able to master every life skill in a short amount of time. He wondered if that was how quickly homunculi learn, and Manicia suggested they show Luna around town that day because the weather was nice. Manicia brought a blue dress and offered to help Luna change into it, but Luna said she'd change into it herself while running off with it. After she left, Manicia worried that she did something wrong to Luna, but Rudd knew that she was only trying to hide her magic stone from Luna. A while later, the trio were taking a walk around the town when Melina's deadbeat dad named Racel showed up and asked Rudd if he was there to make a baby with his daughter. Rudd said no and introduced him to Luna before informing him that his magic sword was taken from him. Racel promised to make a new incredible sword for him, and he asked if Melina could help as well since she was a skilled blacksmith. So Rudd agreed. Rudd was about to leave, but Racel suggested he shows Luna a place in their town called the Monstrous Town. When they arrived there, Rudd explained to Luna that the monstrous vegetables she was seeing were plants that grew into monsters and they needed mana to grow so they could be grown all year round. He also informed her that it was nutritious, and suddenly some boys in the area started accusing Rudd of bagging a baddie, so he explained that Luna was his travel companion. The boys trolled him by saying he'd never get a girlfriend because of his obsession with his sister, and when he asked them who taught them to speak like that, they said it was Philly. Just then, their grandma Gigi showed up, and when she ordered the boys to get back to work, Luna got a flashback of her days as a slave. She started shivering until Radha introduced Gigi to her as the town's apothecary, and the one who makes medicine for Manicia. Some adventurer friends of Rudd showed up and they all had fun together while harvesting some fruits. As they walked home that evening, Rod asked Luna how she felt about the town, and she said she loved it so much that she wished she could stay there forever. She then showed him the magic stone on her chest and revealed that she's a battle homunculus that was developed in the neighboring nation of Brunkles. With tears in her eyes, she apologized for not telling him sooner, but he apologized as well before confessing that he already knew. When she asked why he took her in, he told her about how Manicia used to be living in the slums until he took her in and asked her if she wanted to live as a human or a homunculus. She said she wanted to live as a human, and they shook hands on it. When they returned home, Luna told Manicia that she was a homunculus, and they agreed to continue being friends with each other. The next day, Rod was having fun with everyone when one of his adventurer friends asked to duel with him. However, Rod said he'd face them after a duel with Philae, and Philae agreed, so they went geared up outside for the duel. During the duel, Rod blocked Philae's strikes, and Manicia explained to Luna that they were the two strongest fighters in their town. Phil tried to finish Rod off, but he blocked and took her down with a single slash, and everyone was surprised that he finally got an offensive skill. When Phil asked him about the skill, he explained that his life conversion skill allows him to convert his depleted shield power into strength, and thanked her for helping him train. Later that night, Manicia had a dream about how she used to get bullied until Rudd found her, and when she woke up, she wondered if she was stopping Rudd from living more freely. The next morning, Rod greeted Manicia, but she acted weirdly distant from him as she set up breakfast. Just then, Luna entered the room and started apologizing over the fact that she was late in preparing breakfast, but then she noticed that Manicia had already prepared breakfast, and Manicia laughed at her because of how messed up her hair looked. Luna told Rudd that she was embarrassed about the fact that she couldn't do anything right, and he told her not to worry about it because they'd help each other out. She then brought up the fact that Rudd and Manicia were knowledgeable and asked them who taught them everything they knew, so Rudd revealed that he learned through an apprenticeship. He brought up the fact that he used to live in the slums, and explained to her that an apprenticeship was a master-student relationship. At the time, there was an effort by nobles to return people to the slums to have a proper life, and because of that, Rod and the others were able to attend night school. Manicia started remembering people accusing her of taking away Rudd's freedom again, and Rudd called her back to reality before asking her if there was anything she needed. She said she didn't need anything. So he walked away and Luna started getting worried about her. When they were in night school, Radha was an incredible student who always achieved top marks, so everyone expected him to become the next Jon Snow. However, Manicia spotted some girls in the corner talking about how Rod decided to become an adventurer to cure her disease, and they said they felt sorry for him because Manicia was preventing him from doing what he wanted. Manicia realized that her presence closed up many paths for her brother. In the present, Manicia was on the bed when Luna walked into her room, and when she asked if she was feeling unwell, Manicia said she was only thinking about the past. Luna held her hand and said she was doing it as a way of cheering her up since she noticed she was sad. She apologized because she couldn't think of a better way to cheer her up, and Manicia asked her what she would do if she knew someone was throwing their life away for her. Luna asked Manicia if she was talking about Rudd, and she tried to deny it, but Luna saw through her and advised her to talk to him about it. Luna brought up the fact that he rescued her, who was an illegal homunculus, and guessed that the way he thought was different from the others. However, Manicia said she didn't know how to interact with her brother because she tried to keep as much distance as possible between them so that she wouldn't rely on him too much. She admitted that she just wanted to be kind to him but didn't know what to do about it, and Luna suggested telling him how she felt. Manicia started panicking when she realized Big Bro would soon be home, and Luna advised her to talk to him because he wouldn't know what was on her mind if she didn't. When Rudd came home, he tried to tell them about some fruits he bought, but Manicia interrupted by requesting to have a serious talk with him. The pea-brained lolly started losing her nerve, but Luna calmed her down by holding her hand, and she started by asking Rudd if he was comfortable with his current life. Rudd said he was, and she wondered why he was saying that because she knew he'd be happier if he chose another path instead. Manicia then asked why he saved her when she was abandoned, and Rudd said it was because she once saved him. This confused Manicia, so he brought up how when they were younger, the people in the town used to treat him like a boogeyman because he was huge and ugly. However, Manicia never acted like she was scared of him, and this made him happy every time. Rod said although he initially had doubts about living with her, he was sure he'd made the right choice because he loved the time he spent with her. These wistful words made Manicia cry, and she apologized for assuming he was unhappy with their current living situation. Radha said it was okay, but she suddenly hugged him and they shared an emotional brother-sister bonding moment. Afterwards, he thanked Luna and she said she didn't do anything, so Manicia explained that they wouldn't have made up without her before thanking her as well. Just then, Neen showed up, and when Rod asked what she was doing there, she said she was there to visit him since the church granted her some time off. She revealed that she wasn't a member of the hero party anymore because after Rod left, the team kept failing to clear labyrinths until the party eventually disbanded. During one of the hero party raids, the team was struggling against some monsters, and when Kyglass activated a sword sword skill named Life Burst, he noticed that he lost 1,000 points of his absorb shield. He realized that his skills had gotten weaker ever since Rudd left, and his shield had been depleting faster than before. He managed to take down the monster and the team suggested retreating, but the stubborn idiot chose to continue the raid and ended up getting pummeled by a monster. He started to panic like the sorry loser that he was until the rest of the party members grabbed him and ran away. In the hospital, Kaiglas started blaming the party members for his own failures, so Nin set him straight by pointing out that he was a reckless fool who was only looking strong because of the boost which Rudd gave him when he was around, and afterwards, everyone left the party. In the present, Nin apologized because she had no idea he was carrying them on the battlefield for so long, and Rudd apologized as well for not realizing his skills earlier. Nen said she'd be staying in Avancia for a bit, and Manicia told her she could stay with them, but Rudd told her Nun was a duke's daughter. However, Nin agreed to stay with them, so Rudd showed her to her room. Just then, Philly showed up and told Rude about a monster which was attacking the orchard. When they arrived there, they saw a huge black wolf, and Nin expelled its dark aura with her magic. The monster swatted Foley's dad Vuld away like a fly, and Rudd tanked one of its attacks before telling everyone about his shield of sacrifice ability. Hearing this, the guards charged in without fear of getting hurt, and they beat the monster so badly that it started running away until Luna stopped it with a stone wall. Rudd annihilated the beast by hitting it with the full force of his life conversion skill, and Vuld thanked him for helping them beat the monster without any casualty. Some days later, Rudda was reading the paper, and suddenly, Manicia made the Virgin's non-existent brain melt by sitting on his lap. She asked him to read the paper to her, and he tried to remind her that she could read and write but ended up folding when he saw her cute face. He saw in the news that a labyrinth had popped up in Avancia, and he remembered a few days ago when someone told him that a labyrinth appearing nearby would revitalize the area. Manicia told Rudd that Neen said she didn't like Kaiglas because he made fun of him, and Rudd blushed while telling her that Neen had a lot of personal feelings on that matter. Manicia was surprised that Radha was aware of Neil's feelings for him, and she asked if he was pretending not to notice because of her illness. Rudd explained to her that because he was a weak loser, he ended up getting clingy anytime he gets into a romantic relationship, and it prevents him from raiding labyrinths. Manicia assured him that he'd be fine and told him not to stop caring for her even when he finds happiness with someone. A while later, everyone gathered in the forest and Phil informed them that they were called there in order to take down a monster called a Chameleon King, which was spotted in the area recently. She explained that chameleon kongs are monsters that inhabit an area far to the south and said it was hard to believe that one made it all the way to Avancia without being seen. Philoth then said they needed to investigate the reason for its disappearance and subdue it as well, before instructing them to inform the guards if they find the entrance to the labyrinth which the Chameleon King came out of. Nin asked Rudd about his new sword, so he told her that he contracted the skilled blacksmithing duo of Raysil and Milena to make it for him and polish his shield as well. He also informed her that his sword has an enchant skill, and when Luna asked what enchant means, he explained that different elements could be used to change the magic stone's mana, thereby enchanting the weapon. He decided to give them a bit of a demonstration, and he explained that he can use magic of all elements, but not well enough to be useful for attacks. He channeled a little flame ball he created into the mana stone, and this made the sword transform into a Timu version of Rengoku's sword, and he explained that it could be used to target a monster's weaknesses. An ugly adventurer on the squad told Rudd that the sword was wasted on him since he was an F rank, and Rudd identified him as a C rank adventurer. The pompous idiot told Rudd to go home, and Luna was ready to bounce on him. But Rudd told her to calm down and said he preferred to be underestimated than overestimated. However, Luna said she didn't like seeing him get mocked, and Nin told him that people were only underrating him because he refused to update his rank despite being strong enough to become named a knight by a saint like herself. This shocked the C rank idiot, so Nin informed him that Rod refused her offer to raise his rank, and when he asked Rod why, he explained that he didn't want to raise his rank too much because he knew the guild would summon him if he did. Just then, the Chameleon Kong attacked them and Philok blocked its heavy punches with her sword before pushing it back. Nin was surprised by this, so Rudd told her that Philo was better than the average adventurer before charging in to face the monster. Using his provoke skill, he made the monster direct all its attacks at him, while he blocked with his shield, and this allowed the others to spam it with attacks of their own. However, Rod noticed that something was wrong because the Chameleon King was acting exactly like a tank. And just then, two more Chameleon Kongs jumped out of some trees. One of them punched a knight to the floor before Rod ran in front of them, and File started to lose her nerve. So Rod reminded her that she was the leader. He told her to find a way through their situation, so she announced that they were going to reorganize. Using the provoke skill, Rod made all three Walmart Hulks attack him at once, and Phila told everyone else to get into position. Rude blocked the attacks of one of the monsters, and Luna slashed it from behind with a wind spell. This created an opening for the C-Ranker and his team to overwhelm it with attacks. When the second Chameleon Kong attacked Rudd, he remembered that fire was the creature's weakness, so he attacked it with his flaming sword, allowing Phila to land the finishing blow. The last Chameleon Kong tried to attack Rudd, but he blocked its blows and the girls blasted it with their best magic spells, allowing Rudd to finish it off with a Hinakami Kagura technique. After the battle, the C-Ranker apologized to Rod and the monsters suddenly vaporized, leaving magic stones on the ground. Rude realized that they were dying just like monsters in a labyrinth, and Nin showed Rada that there was a labyrinth in the area. That evening, the townspeople celebrated the fact that a labyrinth had appeared because it would help the town develop and reduce the population decline. During the party, Nine explained to Luna that monsters escaped labyrinths when they weren't defeated, and Rudd told her about how clans were organizations of multiple parties that were recognized as the nation's protectors like knights. Some days later, Rod met up with Nine while patrolling the town, and they were surprised by how many adventurers showed up in town. Meanwhile, a rank adventurers named Boo and Girly were about to start fighting in town, but Rudd stopped them and told them to leave with their clans. They tried to attack Rudd, but he and Nell scared them so badly that they apologized instead. Both clans tried to recruit Rudd, but he rejected their offers, and a guard informed him that Vuld was looking for him. A while later, Vuld informed him that the ruler asked him to form a clan which would have Rudd as the leader, since it was what the people wanted, but Rudd declined because he wanted to live a quiet life with Minacia. Vuld then presented him with a second option, which was to destroy the Avancia labyrinth, and Rudd was shocked because he knew it would half the town's development. Vuld told him he didn't have to make his decision immediately. And afterwards, Luna told Rudd that Minacia was in critical condition. When he rushed home, he saw Minacia resting on the bed, and he asked Luna and Nin to help him destroy the Avancia labyrinth. However, Luna suggested they form the clan and that she would act as the leader in his place so that he could go on his side quests. Nin offered to join his clan as well, and Minacia told him to prioritize protecting the town instead of her. Hearing this, Rudd decided that he'd protect the town as well as Minacia, and he asked the girls for their help in doing so. The next day, Rudd and the girls were on their way to meet the team that was raiding through Avancia labyrinth, and Rudd felt bothered by the fact that his old party members were part of the group. When they arrived at the meeting spot, Lilia and Lily introduced themselves, and another member of the team named Sugol introduced himself as a church knight before inviting them inside to discuss the details. When he opened the curtain, they saw Kyglas seated by a corner, and Nine immediately went to confront him, but Rudd stopped her. He asked Kyglas to explain himself, and Kyglas said the group encountered a sentient guardian the previous day. Rudd was shocked to hear this because he knew they've never been able to converse with guardians that they fought so far, even though they were humanoid, and Kyglas told him to explore the labyrinth instead, since he was badly hurt. Bro suddenly started acting like a brain-dead tsundere while telling Rod to finish the mission, and Lilia explained that letting Rod complete his mission was his own way of apologizing. Rude agreed to take on the mission, and as he walked away with the group, Kyglas apologized for everything before telling him not to get unalived. Before long, Rudd and the others arrived at the Avancia labyrinth, and they entered a magic circle, which teleported them to the first floor. Luna was surprised to see that the floor was a large forest, and Rod told her not to be fooled by the sun in the sky because it didn't reflect the real time. He also explained that things that would normally be impossible happened inside labyrinths because the space was warped. When the magic circle disappeared, she asked how they'd find their way out, and Rudd replied that they needed to find another magic circle in order to exit the place. Nin assured Luna that they'd be fine because Lily had a skill called Dungeon Walk, which allowed her to easily travel to floors she'd already visited. She said only 6 people could be teleported in that way, and Rudd told Nin to show Luna a spell that was similar to Dungeon Walk, so she activated an emergency escape spell. Luna instantly replicated the spell, and this impressed everyone, but Rod knew that it was a combat homunculus ability. Just then, 3 chameleon Kongs showed up. So Rod put Lilia and Sugol at the front, while Nin and Lily handled support and healing from the back. He asked Luna to position herself where she could protect everyone, and as usual, he took the position of the group's shield. When the monsters attacked, he drew the attention of one of them using his provoke skill, and Sugol blocked the attacks of the second chameleon king before slashing it in the arm. Lilia moved around the air by stepping on ice crystals, and she took down one of the chameleon Kongs using swift sword slashes. Meanwhile, the dungeon guardian watched the team from another location, and he thought they were impressive. After defeating the beasts, the team teleported to another part of the labyrinth where attacked by 2 dinosaur monsters called Phildosauruses. They managed to evade the attacks, and Rod noticed that the beasts were faster than usual, so he wondered if it was the Guardians doing. He told the team to find the magic circle while he handled the 2 dinosaurs, and after they ran off, he made the beast attack him using his provoke skill. However, Lilia and Sugol joined the fight, and Sugol told Rudd that they needed to save some strength in order to fight the Guardian. Nin informed them that she's found the magic circle, so Rod decided to move forward instead of continuing the fight. The Dungeon Guardian watched as the team progressed through several more floors, and he anticipated the battle he was going to have against them. Meanwhile, Nen pointed out that the next floor was the 10th and final one, so Rudd thanked the team for accommodating his selfish goals. Lilia said they didn't mind because they knew how important family was, and Sugol agreed. Nine said he shouldn't thank them yet, and then entered the teleportation circle with the rest of the gang, before inviting him to join them. Rod entered the circle, and they all got transported to the final floor, where the Guardian arrived and praised them for their skills before introducing himself as Marius. Rod said he heard the Guardian was previously found on the 5th floor, so Marius explained that he decided to wait on the 10th floor so he wouldn't have to hold back against their powerful group. He then attacked Rudd, but Rudd blocked with his shield, and the force of Marius's attack was so powerful that it felt like his arms were about to be ripped off. When Marius pulled back, Rod said he wanted to talk, but Marius ignored him while prepping a powerful move. Rod realized that Marius wasn't playing around, so he told the team they'd negotiate after the fight. Everyone charged at Marius with their best attacks, but he blocked and decided to face them with his full powers. He told them to flee if they didn't want to die, and then transformed into a terrifying skeleton monster. When Rudd remembered Minacia, he decided that he'd win no matter what, and he blocked Murata's relentless attacks before Lilia hit him with a vicious sword slash. Sugol suggested taking turns and drawing the enemy's attention, and Rudd agreed. Rudd advised Sugol not to get hit by Marius directly, and issued some more commands to the team before using his provoke skill on Marius. Before Marius could attack him, Lilia slashed him in the chest and fell to the ground. Luna tried to check on her, but Nin told her they needed to remain in their positions so they could support the rest of the team. Rod noticed that Marius's attacks were slowing down, so he tried to ambush him from behind, but before he could land the attack, Marius hurled his sword at him. Fortunately, Luna blocked the sword using light magic, and this allowed Rudd to blast Marius with his life conversion skill. However, Marius survived the blast, and Rod realized that it would only take one more life conversion attack to end him, since the previous attack was effective. Just then, Marius blasted them with rocks, and Rudd shielded them, but Lilia suddenly collapsed. Marius sent Sugel flying with a critical hit, and when Rod noticed how hurt he was, he told the team to retreat. However, the gang said they wouldn't back down, and Rudd held back Marius while Lily and Lilia did a Seuss version of Dragon Ball's fusion to become Lilianly. The team attacked Marius relentlessly, and this allowed Rudd to end the battle with a massive life conversion blast. Afterwards, Marius handed Rudd the secret treasure of the labyrinth, and said it would make his wish come true if he infused it with his mana. He asked Radha to finish him off, but Radha said he wanted him to keep ruling the labyrinth, and the two of them became friends. When Rudd got home, he gave Manicia the secret treasure, and when she used it, it healed her of her illness. Seeing this, Radha was so overwhelmed with emotion that he hugged her and started crying. Sometime later, Rudd was in the middle of town, and he noticed how crowded the area had become. He was about to start mediating fights again when Girly and Boo showed up, and he told them he had a request for them. When he returned home, Neen told Rudd that they needed to recruit more people to help manage the clan. Rudd agreed and pointed out that he couldn't push Manicia too hard because she was already handling office work. He previously tried to ask Lilia, but she told him she didn't know enough to teach someone else and advised him to cooperate with other clans. She explained that he needed to form an equal alliance with other clans and said the other clans would decline unless he offered them something beneficial. In the present, Radha said he told people that they drove off the Guardian because he wanted to protect Marius as well, and she told him he could use her to help promote the clan if their recruitment troubles continue. However, he refused and said she wouldn't like it. Just then, Marius arrived and told Rudd that he wanted him to manage the labyrinth, but Rudd said he was too busy at the moment. He then asked Marius if it was alright for him to be wandering around so much, despite being a labyrinth guardian, and he said it wasn't an issue. He asked if Marius had a grudge against humans, and Marius said he didn't before asking him to help manage the labyrinth in exchange for his services. Rudd allowed him to become a member of the clan and asked him to tell him about managing the labyrinth, so he gleefully ran away. A while later, a bunch of adventurers were gathered outside the labyrinth, but Marius took Rudd through a dark portal which led them to a special floor in the dungeon which was basically the manager's office. Marius explained that the lake at the center of the floor displayed the interior of the labyrinth, and allowed him to manipulate the dungeon the way Nakime controls the Infinity Castle. He said they could spend points to create and replicate monsters, and when Rod asked if the points increased on their own, Marius said they could gain points over time by depleting absorb shields of adventurers. Rude realized that he could gain points if his absorb shield suffered massive damage, so he asked Marius to show him how it worked. When Rudd asked if he could only replicate goblins, Marius said the monsters he could replicate included goblins, axe orcs, chameleon kongs, and fieldosaurus. He also revealed that monsters could only be relocated from the original ones they create, and said the monsters might help him in his time of need if he builds trust with them. Rudd was surprised that monsters could take a liking to people, and he freaked out when he saw a monster worth 1,000,000 points on the screen. Marius explained that he could only create it using a grimoire, which allowed them to create a monster at random, like a gacha. When Rod gave it a try, it created a slime and it instantly took a liking to Rod. Marius confirmed that they could now replicate slimes, and Rod realized that they could get ranked monsters with time. Most adventurers come there for that fieldosaurus, but Rod knew the activity would die down when the materials become widely available in the town. This would allow them to spawn a variety of monsters in the labyrinth, and keep a steady number of adventurers coming. Rod knew that it would also help him manage his clan, and the slime monster suddenly sent him flying with a jab. Rod thanked the slime for giving him the idea, and promised Marius that he'd take over as manager of the labyrinth. He asked Marius to manage the labyrinth for a while longer while he thought of the kind of labyrinth they needed to make in order to attract more adventurers, and Marius agreed. When Rod asked what to do about slime, Marius suggested taking him home. When Rod arrived home with the slime, Luna tried to protect Manicia from it, but Rod said it was their new pet, so Manicia suggested giving it a name. Rude named him Lime, and everyone loved the name. Elsewhere, Pooh and Girly informed the leaders of their clan that Rudd's clan wanted to form an alliance with them, and they decided to send him an invitation to a ball which they'd be holding soon. Several days later, Rod and his team arrived at the town of Khalid, and Rod informed Marius that they received invitations to the ball from two clans named Black Dragon Fang and White Tiger Claw. When Rudd first told the team about the invitation, Nin asked what the catch was, and Rudd said the guilds refused their request to form an alliance, but said they'd consider it if their clan served under them. He also revealed that they requested to have Neen in exchange for their cooperations, since she was a famous saint, and Neen said she would never leave their clan, so Radha said he'd reject their offer. However, he said he'd attend their ball because he couldn't pass up the chance to speak to the leaders of two high-ranking clans, and Marius revealed that he saw a dungeon with a sentient labyrinth like himself, which was called the Kelid Labyrinth. Radha realized that if he raided that dungeon and got another miracle stone, it could completely cure Manicia of her illness, so he decided to try his hardest to form an alliance with the clans at Kield so he could gain the treasure. That evening, the squad dressed in their party clothes and went into the ballroom. While they were there, they feasted on some elite meals until the sub-leader of the Black Dragon Claw, Ike, took the stage alongside the sub-leader of that White Tiger Claw, Cynthia. They invited Nin to the stage as a special guest, but Rudd accompanied her there to complain that they were ignoring the fact that she was in his clan. When they asked Rudd who he was, he introduced himself to them as the leader of Nin's clan, and Ike revealed that he was the one who told Kyglas to kick him out of the heroes' party. Ike trash-talked Rudd and offered Nin a spot in his clan. Cynthia tried to ask for Nin as well, but Rod said he wouldn't let them have her, and revealed that he came there to form an alliance. Ike said he couldn't trust a tank, but Nin loudly revealed that Rod was the strongest tank. Rudd then grabbed the mic and announced that his clan would conquer the Kield Labyrinth, which not even their top clans could raid. Just then, the leader of Black Dragon Fang clan named Gosh showed up and shook hands with Rudd. Rude could tell from a handshake that he was incredibly powerful, and Gosh said he'd form an alliance with him if he could clear the labyrinth. He handed the mic to the White Tiger Claw leader Lutel, who also agreed to align with Rudd if he could clear the labyrinth. After the ball, Nen thanked Rudd for protecting her, and Rudd decided that he'd clear the keeled labyrinth no matter what. Afterwards, he met up with Lily, who dragged him into a room and looked as though she was ready to make all his Gooner dreams come true. She asked him to help her tie the strings in the back of her dress, which had come loose, so he fulfilled her request. When he finished, she thanked him and said she wanted to surprise her sister with some tea. Rod was about to start heading back, but Lily stopped him and said she needed to ask him something. She said she was impressed by how he boldly stated his intentions at the ball, because she was too weak to tell anyone what she wanted to do. When Rudd asked what she wanted to do, she said she wanted to learn to support herself, and explained that she never had to worry about anything when her sister was around. She'd been a fool since her early years who always made mistakes, but Lilia protected her, and because of this she saw her as a perfect girl who was capable of anything. Lily said even when they fight, all she does is support her from behind, and Rod said it was because she was a skilled mage, but she said her sister could use magic as well, despite being a close-range fighter. She also revealed that Lilia was always the primary personality when they fuse, and said she'd never fought by herself before. She once again told Rudd that she wanted to learn to take care of herself, and Rudd realized that she found it hard to tell Lilia she wanted to be more independent because of how close they were. Like a true Riz King, he told her she could cause him all the trouble she wanted, and she literally started jumping as she expressed how excited she was to ask for his help again. However, she tripped, and when Lilia walked into the room, she saw them in a position which looked like they were recreating a Johnny Sins classic.
Ah, shit. Had to go again.
Rudd tried to explain that it was an accident, but Lilia angrily demanded that he come to the roof with her. When they got there, Bro thought he was about to get pushed off, but Lilia said it was fine because she knew he'd never do anything to hurt someone's precious sister. She confessed that she was only half pretending in the room, so she could get him up there, and asked him if she'd ever told him about their origin. Rude said she once mentioned that their parents abandoned them, but she clarified that they actually ran away from their abusive parents. Their father was especially cruel to them, and this was why Lily struggled to have a normal conversation with a man. Lilia said her goal was to someday take Lily to a place where she can truly be happy, and she decided to keep her safe until then. Rudd was happy because her words showed that they truly loved each other, and he brought up how Lily called Lilia perfect. Lilia said she wasn't perfect, and he agreed that she wasn't because she lost her cool sometimes when it came to her sister. She thanked him for listening to her yapping session, and he said she could talk to him anytime since she was his dear friend. The next day, Rod and the others arrived at the entrance of the labyrinth, and there they met the twins who had just made it back from the 49th floor. Lily said they were escorted to the 49th floor by labyrinth explorers and claimed she could now use Dungeon Walk to transport all of them there. However, she said she chose not to go to the 50th floor because she wanted them to gauge the monster frequency, and revealed that she'd been gathering information. She looked into the party compositions the two major clans used on their raids and found out that both clans took 4 magic attackers and 2 healers, which meant that they used speed-focused compositions and had their attackers functioning as tanks. Lily also revealed that every floor had a lot of monsters which inflict status effects, and Rudd was confident that his healthy body skill would be able to nullify that. Nin acknowledged that it was a challenging labyrinth, but said they had to do whatever it takes to clear at least the 51st floor, so they could form an alliance with the 2 major clans. Inside the dungeon, Rod assigned Marius to the rear, and placed Lilia and Luna at the forefront of their attack, while Nin focused on healing. Lily asked if she could issue commands during the battle, and Rudd was impressed by the fact that she was already trying to change, so he agreed, and pointed out that attacks from the back line were easiest to understand. She then transported them to the upper floor using Dungeon Walk, and when they arrived there, Marius pointed out that monsters were close by. Just then, a poison lizard and black owl appeared, so Marius and Lilia rushed to face them. The counterfeit shield hero activated his shield of sacrifice as well as his provoke skill, and this made the poison lizard spray him with its poison. He blocked and smashed the lizard with his shield, but then the black owl started attacking him. Marius defeated the bird with a sword slash, but another one appeared and charged at Lily until Lilia obliterated it with her sword. When more birds appeared, Lily told Rudd that there was no need to continue fighting, so Rudd used a flashbang to cause a diversion, which allowed them to escape. The gang complimented Lily for giving them clear instructions, and Nin said she realized that they could choose whether or not to transfer their damage to Rudd using his shield of sacrifice. The entire party started glazing Rudd for his amazing abilities, and Rudd asked Marius to tell them about himself. Marius revealed that he was a demonoid, which were creatures from an ancient time who swore loyalty to demons. He said he was able to control the labyrinth because of the fact that he was a demonoid, and he revealed that the labyrinths were originally created by demons to destroy the human world. He suspected that a strong demonoid was managing the labyrinth they were in, and when Rod asked if he was okay with fighting one of his own kind, Marius said he would because of a personal beef he had with his species. Afterwards, Lily shared the plan with the team, and they progressed through the labyrinth, beating every monster they encountered until they reached the 50th floor. There they faced a bone dragon, and Rudd charged in first, just like Lily instructed them before the battle. When he got pushed back, Marius and Lilia started attacking it, but it countered with a swarm of bone spikes. The bone dragon started overpowering them with surprise moves, so Lily healed everyone using a wide area healing spell. An hour later, the bone dragon suddenly fired a massive flame attack at Rudd, but he blocked, and the rest of the gang launched a swarm of attacks which created an opening for Rudd to finish off the dragon using life conversion. Later that evening, Lily went over some more plans with the team, and Rudd suggested having a party to celebrate their win, but Lilia said she had somewhere else to be. During the party, Nin congratulated everyone on a job well done, and they shared a drink together. Luna saw how Nin was tweaking after taking a sip of alcohol, so she asked her if alcohol tasted good. Neen told her to have a taste, and when she took a sip she immediately pulled it out of her mouth because of how bitter it tasted. Neen brought up the fact that Rod had been oddly close with the twins lately, and Rod said there wasn't anything different, but then she asked Luna about her opinion on that matter. Luna got pouty while saying she also thought Lode had gotten closer with them, and Lode realized that the little sip of alcohol she took had already fried her tiny brain. He confirmed that there was nothing fishy going on between him and the twins, so Nin asked him to become something more than party mates with her. Rudd told her that he wasn't intending on getting into any romantic relationship for the meantime because he was focused on raiding labyrinths in order to cure his sister, and Nin took comfort in the idea that he'd later have time for romance. Luna then confessed that whenever she was having fun with Rudd, she had a warm feeling in her chest, and then she told him that she'd like to spend more time with him. Rudd agreed, and Nin teased him for being a Rizlord. Afterwards, Rudd went to his room to cool off, and there he saw Lilia snoozing on his bed. When Lilia woke up, he asked her why she was sleeping on his bed, and she explained that she had Marius let her into his room so she could wait for him, but ended up sleeping due to exhaustion. Rod asked what she wanted to talk about, and in response, she brought up how Lily worked really hard during the raid. He said Lily surprised him because she could do more than he thought, and Lilia told him that Lily had always been able to get things done easily, so long as she stayed calm. Rude said it made sense that their abilities were comparable because they were twins, and Lilia said she was impressed by the fact that Lily was changing little by little, but guessed that he exhausted herself from working too hard. When Rudd asked what she meant, she asked him if he thought change was scary, and Rudd said he didn't like change that much, especially because of what was currently happening in Avancia. However, he admitted that he was glad that things had changed in the town because Avancia would have never gotten so lively if it hadn't changed, and he claimed that the best option was to find a way to enjoy change. Lilia said she was weaker than Lily, which was why she always wanted to support her, but admitted that she was feeling sad about the fact that Lily was slowly drifting away from her. Rod realized that Lilia's inability to let her sister go was a bigger problem than Lily's desire to become independent, so he comforted her by telling her he was sure they'd always remain together even if the world itself split apart. Lilia was impressed with his sage side once again, and she told Rudd that she never wanted to turn away from Lily again like she did that day. The next day, the gang met on the first floor of that keeled labyrinth, and Rudd announced that they'd be starting from the 51st floor that day before handing things over to Commander Lily. Lily said they didn't have much information on the 51st floor because it was as far as the two major clans reached, and pointed out that they needed to use something stronger than detection magic to find the monsters because the fog in the area was so dense. Rod put Lily in charge of detection, while he and Marius searched as hard as they could, and he told Luna to be on her guard. Luna said she didn't mean anything by what she said the previous night, and this made Nin mock her for being the kind of drunk that remembers their stupid mistakes. Afterwards, Lily used Dungeon Walk to transport them to the 51st floor, and when they got there, they noticed that the dense fog was interfering with their detection magic. So Rudd asked Luna to clear the fog using wind magic. Luna attempted to do so, but it had zero effect, and Marius explained that they couldn't clear it because the fog was magic as well. Rudd then used his monster sensing ability, and when he picked up a beast nearby, he used his provoke skill to rage bait the monster into blasting him with water magic. Suddenly, some muddy hands started grabbing everyone, and Luna managed to push the monsters back. After sensing some monsters nearby, Rudd instructed everyone to run in a particular direction, and when they did so, he was attacked by some monsters called Sahagins. He blocked their attacks, and Marius showed up to aid him. Everyone learned to detect the monster's mana just like Marius suggested, and this allowed them to successfully defeat the Sahagins. Afterwards, Rudd gathered the materials they got from the Sahagins, and the team feasted on some Sahagin barbecue. When they arrived at the boss room, they encountered a dark skeleton who had 3 crystals floating around him. And when Rudd charged at it, the skeleton countered with a swarm of attacks. When Marius and Lilia tried to ambush the monster, it was blocked with a barrier, and this allowed Rudd to push it back with his shield. However, the skeleton monster countered with a strange spell that made Lilia start attacking Marius. She yelled at them to stop hurting Lily because she was overwhelmed with memories of her abusive household, and Nin said she needed to heal the others who were affected by status effects first. Rudd destroyed one of the skeleton's crystals using life conversion and pinned Lilia to the ground. As she struggled, he realized that she was seeing visions of her past trauma, so he told her that there was no one there to hurt them anymore. She snapped back to her senses when Rod promised to protect her and Lily no matter what, and he said some more calming words to her before rejoining the fight. He attacked the skeleton relentlessly until he found out that it couldn't block magical and physical attacks at once. The team took advantage of this by spamming all their biggest attacks at once, and Rudd pushed the monster to the wall using life conversion. The skeleton got back up and tried to use sneakier tactics, but the Rod outsmarted it, and the gang defeated the skeleton monster once and for all using a spam of magic attacks. However, Lily realized that she couldn't sense a teleportation circle, and Marius guessed that it was because the Guardian didn't want them to go any further. Rude suggested leaving, but just then a lady appeared behind him and bit him in the neck. Some more dark skeletons showed up in the area, but the lady destroyed all of them with a single attack, and this made Marius realize that she was a demon king. Rudd wondered if the demon queen was the labyrinth guardian, and she suddenly activated an ability called Evil Eye. This move created a tidal wave of mana which overwhelmed Rude's team, but Rude knew that it would take more than that to stop them. Demon Queen was surprised that they weren't afflicted with status effects after being struck by her attack, and she complained that divine skills were a nuisance to her. Rode asked if she was the guardian of that labyrinth, and she confirmed that she was before asking if they were afraid of her. Rada said he wasn't because she was an adorable loli, and she laughed while telling him she appreciated the compliment. However, Marius informed the Lolicon that the Demon Queen had lived for over 3 centuries, and she yelled at him to shut up while blasting him with wind attacks. She called Marius a failure of a demon king, but Rudd blocked the attacks she threw at Marius, while telling her not to attack his friend. The demon queen said the failure had aligned himself with humans, but Marius said she was wrong because he was only acting out of hatred for demon kings. However, she told him to stay out of the way because he was merely a cannon fodder to her, but Rod told her she was dealing with the entire team, and not just Marius. The demon queen was baffled because she knew their individual strength still didn't come close to hers, and Rod told her that humans formed parties to make up for the fact that they were too weak to raid dungeons alone. She introduced herself as Amon, and unleashed her dark aura. Rudd charged at her with his Shield of Sacrifice skill, and this allowed him to block her tornado attack. He used his Provoke skill to make her direct her next couple of attacks at him, while Marius and Lilia charged in to attack her. She kicked both swordsmen away, and Luna and Lily blasted her with flames, but she used a whirlwind to deflect their attacks. Rudd told Nin that even when he used his Provoke skill, she didn't direct all her attacks at him, and Amon started bragging about how worthless their attacks were, so Rudd charged at her again. She dodged him easily with wind magic, but Nin floored her with gravity magic, and Lilia charged in to make the finishing blow. However, Amon kicked her away again and sent Marius flying with a single flick. Rod charged in with his Provoke skill and Amon stopped him with wind slashes, but this only created an opening for Lily to blast her from behind with flame magic. Amon somehow deflected the flames, so Rod used his flashbang to distract her while Marius and Lilia landed brutal slashes to her stomach, and this attack made the mana within her burst out into a huge whirlwind. Within the tornado, Amon apologized for underestimating them, and Nine healed the entire team while pointing out that she was stronger than any monster they'd ever faced. However, everyone expressed how motivated they were to keep fighting, and Rod decided that they'd all attack at once when the storm vanished. Just then, Arata transformed into a giant wolf which Rudd identified as a Fenrir. And Rudd asked Marius if he could transform into a monster as well, but he said doing so would make him attack both friend and foe. Rudd evaded a slash from Amon and blocked several more claw strikes with his shield, while the sword duo, Marius and Lilia, slashed her from both sides. However, they realized that their attacks did zero damage to her because her fur was as hard as armor and she continued overwhelming him with claw attacks until Luna and Maria blasted her with a rain of flame blasts. However, the attacks didn't do much damage to her, and when she charged at Rudd again, he noticed that her attacks had gotten even stronger. Just then, Marius cut Amon's arm open with a sword slash and apologized to Rod for taking too much time to build up power for his attack. However, Rada said it was perfect, because he managed to cut through her thick armor skin, and Amon attacked again. Rada managed to block. Lilia used a dual welding sword skill she learned from Kirito to brutally slash Ormon in the head, and Ormon tried to run away, but Lilia stopped her by stabbing her in the back before landing 2 more solid hits on her. Rod activated his Provoke skill, and this made Amon charge at him. As he blocked her claw, he observed that her movements had slowed down, but she suddenly started attacking with a more vicious form of wind magic. Marius tried to slash her again, but the wind pushed him back, and Rudd realized that the stone on her forehead activated a powerful wind barrier around her. Lilia instructed Nine to cast a dispelling spell while everyone else attacked at once, so she began chanting while the rest of the team charged at Amon. Rude was slowly being overwhelmed by Amon's wind, but he managed to stand strong until Nin successfully dispelled Amon's wind barrier. Amon tried to run away, but Luna blocked her path with a flame blast, and the sword duo began ripping her to shreds. Marius gave Rudd the signal to make his move, so he slashed her with life conversion, but unfortunately Amon countered with a massive wind spell that overwhelmed Rudd. He managed to tank the attack, but they noticed that the sword duo had passed out. A wounded Amon landed on the ground, so Rudd told Luna and Rin to heal the sword duo because they'd die if they got hit with another wind attack. Nin warned Rudd that it was too dangerous for him since his absorb shield had been shattered, but he said he could still fight using his tank skills and reminded her that he was the only one who could stop Amon's attacks. Rada then charged ahead and blocked a claw strike from Amon. When Amon tried to blast wind at him again, the attack couldn't take shape, so Rod realized that Amon was in bad shape. Rudd was about to suggest retreating, but Lily said they could keep fighting, and she came up with a plan which involved herself switching to an attacker after fusing with Lilia. Rudd endured Amon's attacks until Lily finished the fusion and started attacking the beast. She struggled to use the fusion body, so Rudd covered her while advising her to fight the way she usually does. When Arata attacked Rudd again, managed to block by harnessing all the mana in his body, and this allowed Lily to defeat Arata with a powerful magic slash. After the battle, Aram handed Rudd a miracle stone and asked her about the goal of the Demon Kings. He then asked her to join his team in order to fight the Demon Kings, and she agreed. Much later, Rudd announced that his team had cleared the labyrinth and the clans finally agreed to form an alliance with him. On the way back home, Lily thanked Rudd for helping her during the fight and then kissed him on the cheek before passing out. When they returned to Avancia, Manicia used the magic stone to heal herself even more, and she thanked Amon for helping her before offering her a chance to stay with them. Some days later, Manicia read some requests from the townspeople, and she asked Rudd to look through the rest before leaving with Lime. After she left, Rudd picked up the stack of requests, and he was glad that the 2 major clans agreed to align with them, but he was worried that the town's growth had come with major issues. Just then, Neen showed up, and took Rada to a room where an injured girl they found on the street was getting healed by Luna, and she revealed to them that the girl was a homunculus. The girl suddenly woke up and begged Luna to help her save her friends who were attacked in the woods near their town. Nin and Rudd agreed to go, and Luna offered to join them. Rudd said she needed to stay there to tend to the girl instead. As they rushed through the forest, Rudd realized that the path ahead led to the labyrinth, and he wondered how monsters got out of it when he was handling its management. They arrived at a spot where they saw 2 groups of homunculi fighting each other, and Nin pointed out that one of the groups was forced into the fight. She also noted that the defenders had emotions like the girl they met earlier, so Rudd blocked the attack of an aggressive homunculus and introduced himself as an adventurer from Avantia. Another homunculus joined in the attack and he tried to get them to listen to him, but they kept attacking. He shoved them away and explained to the good homunculus that her friend came to seek their help, but the girl ignored him and started fighting her ops again. Rod noticed that she was an equal match for her opponent, and when another homunculus tried to ambush her, he blocked the attack while asking the girl if she was a friend of the homunculus they met. The girl said yes, and revealed that the group that was attacking them were combat homunculi from Brunkles, and Rudd remembered that Brunkles was the same town that Luna fled from. He asked Nin to heal the good homunculi group, so she cast a powerful healing spell on them, while Amon watched from above. Rada asked the girl if the combat homunculi had emotions, and she replied that they didn't before revealing that they were sent to unalive her group. Rude realized that they had to be defeated, and it pained him because he felt they could have been given a proper life like Luna. But then Amon suddenly appeared behind him. She told Rudd that the combat homunculi were basically dolls, and Rudd knew she was trying to be considerate to his feelings despite her cold words. When they attacked again, Rudd blocked them off with his shield and slashed off the arm of one of them. However, they charged at him again, so he destroyed them by slashing their mana crystals. When Nin finished healing the good homunculi group, Rudd told them that their friend was at their clan house, and asked them if they'd follow him there. From their haggard appearance, he could tell they lived miserable lives, and he suspected that they hated humans. The green-haired homunculus bluntly stated that she didn't like humans, but she asked to follow them because she and her friends had nowhere to go. When he took them to the clan house, Minasa served them some food, and Nin told Rudd that he'd have to speak with the bailiff at the manor house since he was housing homunculi from Brunkles. She also noted that they would have been able to keep them safe because the news would definitely reach the higher-ups as well, and the townsfolk would get weary of them. Rude pointed out that Avantia's bailiff was friendly, and said he's sure he'd hear them out. Just then, one of the homunculi thanked them for saving her group and introduced herself as Fair, before asking if they were heading to meet the town leader. They said yes, so Fair offered to tag along with them because it would be faster if one of her kind spoke with him directly about what was happening in Brunkles. Rudd said he might be weary of her, so Fair suggested they bind her hands and feet before promising to tell them everything she knew. Rod didn't want to bind her hands and feet, so he held her hand as they walked through town and ignored the whisperings of the townsfolk. When they explained everything to the town ruler, he said he already suspected that homunculi were being created in Brunkles, but was surprised by the harsh treatment they were getting. Rudd told him that the homunculus group had nowhere else to go and asked him to let them stay in the town so they could provide the manpower they lack. The ruler agreed, and he asked Fair if she had any idea why the technology used in making homunculus was so oddly advanced, and she said it was due to a demon king named Greed, who showed up in Brunkles 20 years ago. He said he'd pass on the information she just shared with the state, and assured her that Avantia would provide her with protection. On their way back home, Rod asked Fair about the green-haired homunculus, and Fair revealed that she was a fairly strong commander named Mina. At the clan house, Rod told the homunculi that the town was officially offering them protection and asked them what they were good at, since he intended to find jobs for them. They started to panic because they didn't want to work for humans again, but Rudd calmed them down by saying they'd be working under fair conditions. Monicia then suggested they task the homunculus group with building public baths, and Rudd agreed that it was a great idea. After she left, Nine told Rudd that she'd noticed that Luna was acting unusually close to the other homunculi. A while later, Rada met up with Luna and asked her why she was spending all her time with the homunculi, and she said it was because she considered herself lucky that he took her in. She admitted that she hadn't told them she was a homunculus yet because she feared that telling someone would cause trouble for him. However, she said she wanted to tell people when everyone in the town accepted the homunculi, and Rudd comforted her with a head pat. On his way back home, Amon ambushed him by pressing her melons on his face and told him she was giving the homunculi magic lessons. When he asked about Greed, she said he was mass-producing homunculi, just to pass time since demon kings were immortal. She said the other reason for Greed's experiment was because he aimed to create the ultimate power, which she described as the power which Rudd had. Rada said he couldn't forgive Greed for his inhumane actions, and he asked her if Greed was in a labyrinth, so she warned him that his powers could turn him into a monster if he used it too much. She also said he could become a demon king if he uses his power right, and Rod said he had no interest in becoming a demon king. As he walked away, his body started emitting a dark aura, and he heard a voice which told him to destroy something. Several weeks later, the homunculi had made significant progress in the construction of public baths, and the people in the town started giving them food and gifts to acknowledge their efforts. Meanwhile, Rudd had been doing some mana training in the Avantia Labyrinth because he knew there was a possibility that the demon king Greed would try to destroy him for possessing ultimate power. After destroying some monsters, he went to the management floor of the labyrinth, where he saw Nin playing with a Pokemon named Bavern, which she pulled from the monster gacha machine, and Marius said she was lucky because it was a monster worth 70,000 points. Lily pulled a devil fairy named Lufair, and they both thanked Rudd for letting them use his points to create adorable partners for themselves. Nine said being a labyrinth manager was amazing because of how much the monsters loved Rudd, but Marius said the beasts never acted fond of him in the same way. A couple days later, Rudd announced that the public baths were now officially open, and some of the townsfolk doubted if the baths were safe since they were built by homunculi, but the adventurers were impressed by how amazing it looked. Rudd said the adventurers would be the first to test the facility, and walked in to have his bath. When the girls arrived at the women's bath, Lily said she was impressed by how great it looked, and Lilia immediately started washing her hair. Nin told Menicia that she wanted to wash her hair as well because washing with a friend was something she always wanted to do. Menicia agreed and took off her towel, but Amon interrupted by asking who would wash her. Some minutes later, Arad said it was a shame that there were no mixed baths after all the transformation spell practice they did during her magic lessons, and Nij reminded her that it was supposed to be a secret. Menicia asked what transformation magic they'd use for mixed bathing, and Amon said Nin would use hers to make her milk factories bigger. However, Nin appeared behind her, threatened to pack her meals full of all the vegetables she hated if she didn't stop talking. Amon freaked out and accused her of being jealous over the fact that she had the largest pair of melons, Amon all of Rod's close lady friends. Hearing this, the twins held her arms while Nin played around with Amon's water balloons, and Lily eventually grabbed the cushions as well. Menicia laughed and said it was nice that she's getting to have fun with everyone, and Lily assured her that she'd be able to do it even more over time. They heard some noise coming from the men's bath, and it turned out to be the doofus adventurers begging Rod to let them peep into the women's bath. Rod said he'd never let them see Menicia in her natural form, and he spotted Marius climbing the wall, so he asked him why he was trying to peep. Marius said he didn't care about peeping, but he just loved the thrilling sensation. The adventurers started yapping about how they wanted to see the girls' plots until Rud tackled them down, and in the process of appealing to him, one of the shameless gooners said he wanted to have a glimpse of Nin's washboard chest. Hearing this, Nin got so angry that she prepared to blast them with a hollow purple, and Rod told the idiots to use their imaginations because all the other girls had roughly the same size of melons. After the bath, Rod met up with Fair and told her about how much fun he had in the resort. When some townspeople asked if there was anything dangerous there, he said it was fine, and the other adventurers were also happy about their experience. Just then, Mina showed up and bowed her head while asking the people to try out the resort, so they agreed to go in. When the girls came out, Rod asked them about their experience, and Nin said she enjoyed the bath but didn't enjoy getting trolled by the Nimrods on the men's bath. Sometime later, the people thanked Mina and the others for their service, and Rud thanked Mina as well for meeting him halfway. Just then, a random idiot informed Rud that a large horde of monsters were marching towards Avancia, and the guild issued an urgent request to all adventurers because the guard couldn't handle the monsters themselves. At the clan house, Rod announced to the adventurers that the horde of monsters were over 100, named 50 in number, but assured them that they'd be fine because they were fighting alongside the overpowered fighters who cleared the Keeled Labyrinth. He also informed them that they'd be paid a hefty sum for every monster they slay, and they all agreed to partake in the mission. However, Marius said he had a bad feeling about it, and Amon informed Rud that a new powerful labyrinth had appeared in the area. She revealed that monsters were being cloned inside the labyrinth, which meant that more monsters could show up in the town, and everyone offered to help Rud solve this monster problem. A while later, the monsters arrived at the town gate, and the knights started taking them down with arrows and magic blasts. However, the monsters started clapping back with magic blasts of their own, so Rod and the gang charged in to face them. They ripped through a bunch of goblins, and the rest of the soldiers fought as well until they completely destroyed the monsters. Just then, a second wave of monsters appeared, and this time they were accompanied by chameleon Kongs and Fieldosaurus, so the adventurers started to panic. However, the chameleon Kongs and Fieldosaurus started attacking the enemy monsters because they were actually copies of the Avancia Labyrinth monsters, which Rud tasked Bavern and Lufair with creating. Rud charged in again and defeated the second group of monsters with the help of his monster companions. Afterwards, Rud decided that they needed to conquer the newly formed labyrinth in order to stop the monster attacks, and Amon informed him that the new labyrinth belonged to Greed. This made Rod even more motivated, and when he told Amon of his intentions to capture Greed alive, she gave him some special shackles which could suppress a demon lord's abilities. Marius was hyped to conquer the labyrinth, but Rod said the team for the raid was himself and the girls with the addition of Mina. Marius argued that he wanted to fight, but Rod told him that he was the only one he trusted to lead the adventurers in his absence, so he agreed to stay back. Afterwards, Rod and the girls went inside the new labyrinth, and they were confused by the fact that it was completely empty. Just then, a portal opened, and out of it came Greed. Greed introduced himself to them, and Rud instantly demanded that he surrender, but Greed said he'd never do that. Rud informed him that they'd defeated all the monsters he sent into town, but Greed showed him through a screen that there were still thousands of new monsters marching towards the city. Rada was stunned, but he put on his poker face while telling Greed that it was impossible to conquer Avancia with the forces he prepared. However, Greed said it wasn't impossible, because he had unlimited points which he could use in summoning the monsters, and Rud boldly claimed that they'd defeat him and destroy the labyrinth before that happens. Greed then pointed out that Luna and Mina were homunculi, and Nin was surprised. So Luna opened up her magic crystal and admitted that she was a homunculus. He asked her to return to his side, but Luna pointed her sword at him, while saying that her only master was Rud. Nine asked Luna and Rud why they didn't tell her, and Luna tried to explain, but the girls walked in front of her, while Nine cheerfully told her to explain herself later. Greed then transformed into his monster form and attacked Rada. Rude blocked with his shield, but noticed that his attacks felt heavy, and he managed to push the demon scum away. Lilia tried to attack, but Greed dodged her slash, and Rud tried to warn Mina to stay away from Greed, but he grabbed her sword and punched her to the ground. When Rud went to check on her, she told him not to worry about her and swore to protect the homunculi. She told him she'd be willing to die to defeat Greed, so Rod told her to stay out of the battle because he didn't want anyone to die. She argued that her life was worthless since she was a homunculus, but Rud told her not to throw her life away. Greed tried to blast them both to hell, but the mages blocked using a magic shield, and Rud successfully rage-baited Greed into attacking him using his provoke skill. After he blocked the attack, Lilia and Mina charged at Greed and he tried to blast them away, but Luna nullified his magic, allowing them both to land critical hits on him. Greed fell to the ground, and Rud immediately put the Demon King sealing handcuffs on him. On the outskirts of the town, the two evasive tanks which Kyglas earlier recruited were fighting against the horde of monsters, and when an orc tried to unalive one of them, Kyglas arrived just in time to save them using a life burst attack. She was surprised to see him, and Kyglas said he was happy to see that they were doing fine. Meanwhile, Marius unleashed a powerful magic slash which destroyed an entire group of the monsters at once, and Sugol asked Amon to help them fight, but she said she wanted to take a nap instead. However, Bee grabbed the donut she was eating, and reminded her that Manasia promised to reward her efforts with more sweets donuts. Hearing this, the lazy Dragon Queen finally joined the fight, and she unleashed a light spell which initially looked goofy, but ended up annihilating all of the monsters in front of her. Back at the labyrinth, Rod decided to take Greed back into town with him, but when he approached him, he saw a magic crystal in Greed's chest. Just then, a powerful dark mass appeared behind him, and he barely managed to block its attack before parrying it into a wall. Out of the dark mass came the real Greed, and he explained that the Greed they fought previously was a homunculus he copied his powers into. He once again introduced himself and transformed into his Demon King form, before firing a magic blast at Rada. Rude blocked with his shield, but the force of the blast pushed him back. Rude charged at him, but Greed appeared behind him and kicked him into the ground. When Greed tried to attack again, Nin protected Rudd with a rain of light magic blasts, and the twins did their fusion before charging at the Demon King. Greed blocked their swarm of attacks, and Mina tried to attack him, but he evaded her attack as well. Suddenly, Greed switched to an even higher gear, and he charged at Rod like a madman, but Rod managed to block his explosive attack. Lilial held off Greed while Rudd prepared his ultimate attack, and when they gave him the signal, Rudd charged at Greed with his provoke skill. Greed put the twins down with a tornado spell, but this created an opening for Rod to land a life conversion hit on Greed. However, Greed appeared unscathed, and kicked him into the corner. Rude tried to land another life conversion slash, but Greed knocked him down with a powerful punch and defeated the rest of the team in the blink of an eye. Luna charged at him with a dagger, but Greed stopped her with a brutal knee strike and started choking her out in an attempt to surpass his limits like Asta. Rod unleashed all of his mana at once, and this made him snap. He suddenly punched Greed into the wall, and Nin was terrified when she saw the terrifying red aura emanating from his body. In this berserk form, Rudd started pummeling Greed until Nine smacked him back to his senses. Rudd realized that he was temporarily taken over by his own mana, and just then his mana took over his body once again. He remembered Amon's words and feared that he'd transform into a monster, but he ended up suppressing his mana again thanks to Nin. Rudd then picked up his shield, and Greed started bragging about how he would destroy their city. Rod told Nin to cast healing magic on him repeatedly, while he puts everything he has into a single attack, and she agreed to do so. He then activated his Shield of Sacrifice, and this enhanced all of the soldiers on the battlefield. He told Greed that he was the world's strongest tank and annihilated him with a life conversion slash. Afterwards, Rod and the girls returned to Avancia, and they reunited with everyone in the town. Rude praised the warriors for their efforts, and the entire town celebrated him like a war hero. If you were Rudd, which of the baddies do you think you can tank in a private room? Nin? Amon? Luna? Or maybe you're a lolicon from Alabama who would prefer Manisha? Let us know in the comments. That's all for today's video. If you like anime recaps like this, check out this video here.